communities caught between rebel advances, government forces and cross-border rivalries. Now, in a landmark diplomatic move, U.S. President Donald Trump is preparing to host DRC President Felix Tshisekedi and Rwanda's President Paul Kagame in Washington for the signing of a new peace accord. A deal aimed at finally ending the long-running crisis. Kenya's President William Ruto is also expected to attend, and tonight we break down the origins of the conflict, what has fueled it for more than 2 decades, who has suffered the most, and what his new agreement could mean for stability in the Great Lake regions. This is JKS Thursdays, and what we are doing tonight is from genocide to geopolitics. Remember, our social media platforms remain EBN TV Kenya or Cruise, and our SMS line is 235059. And what we can see from our screens is that the deal is supposed to be signed by the U.S. President Donald Trump, whereby Rwanda and DRC is concerned. And as we speak right now, they're moving to the United States Institute of Peace, where the agreement will be signed. Come with me as I tell you what has been happening from 1994 up to this time we're speaking. Roots in history and regional history, ethnicity, and the 1994 genocide. The conflict's deeper roots date back to post-independence instability in the DRC after colonial rule ended from 1960 onward. That legacy left weak institutions and power struggles. A major turning point was the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. Extremist Hutu militias in Rwanda killed hundreds of thousands, mostly Tutsis and moderate Hutus. As a result of that genocide, many Hutu militias and civilians featuring reprisals fled to eastern DRC, then Zaire, seeking refuge. This mass exodus included armed groups among refugee populations, which are reorganized in camp near the border. Some of the exiled militias, former Hutu genocides, remained armed and constituted a security threat for Rwanda that in turn provoked fears and insecurity for Rwanda and regional instability. Thus, the immediate post-genocide refugee crisis and the presence of armed Hutu groups in eastern DRC sowed seeds of long-term conflict between DRC, Rwanda, and multiple armed factions. And we're looking at the First and Second Congo Wars, spillover and expansion. And coming back to 1996, taking advantage of the instability, a coalition backed by Rwanda invaded eastern DRC, partly motivated by the need to neutralize Hutu militias, some of which had committed genocide, but also spurred by political ambitions. This started the First Congo War. The invading coalition succeeded in overthrowing the existing DRC regime in 1997. After the change of leadership, tensions persisted, and in 1998, the former allies fell out, triggering the Second Congo War. Ethnic tensions, especially between Tutsi and Hutu factions, refugee militia activity, and competition over control over eastern provinces fueled the war. The war involved multiple countries, and armed actors outside armies and rebel groups fought for influence and control, particularly over eastern DRC. The conflict in effect became about both security, which is ethnic and political, and the exploitation of natural resources, especially in mineral-rich eastern DRC, minerals such as coltan, gold, diamonds, etc. Because of this mixture of ethnic refuge spillover, militia dynamics, regional intervention, and resource plunder, what started as a humanitarian security issue rapidly escalated into a large-scale war involving many actors. Moving all the way to mid to late 1990s, 1996 to 2003, First and Second Congo Wars. The wars devastated the DRC, especially eastern regions. Foreign armies, rebel groups, and militias fought. Millions died, many from disease and starvation rather than direct combat. And post-2003, a shaky peace. Foreign armies withdrew officially, but many local rebel groups remained active in eastern Congo, especially groups with links to Rwanda or with Tutsi identity. Ethnic tension, insecurity, resource exploitation, localized violence, and instability continued. From 2012 to 2013, rise of the March 23 movement. This is M23 as we know it, a rebel group claiming to defend the rights of Tutsi and other communities in eastern DRC. The group accused the DRC government of failing to honor a 2009 2020 agreement to integrate Congolese Tutsi into the army and administration. In April 2012, M23 began offensive operations, and by November 2012, had taken control parts of eastern DRC, including populous areas. However, in 2013, a UN-backed military offensive backed by the government forced M23 to surrender. Rebels disbanded, many fled or surrendered, but instability remained over the years. Despite that temporary defeat, underlying structural tensions, ethnic divisions, refugee communities, resource competition, weak governance persisted. 2022 onward, resurgence of M23. When M23 reemerged, the renewed conflict has been characterized by a massive offensive by M23 in eastern DRC, reportedly with backing from Rwanda, though the Rwandan government denies direct support. In early 2025, M23 captured key cities including Goma, and this is North Kivu, and Bukavu, South Kivu, as well as mineral-rich areas. The recent escalation is described as the biggest since the early 2000s. Prompting fresh humanitarian political crisis. And what is the conflict about now? Main reasons are that the reason as to why the conflicts are still moving on. And up today, the conflict remains driven by a complex mix of factors. And one of them is being ethnic and security concerns, where some groups in eastern DRC, especially Tutsi or communities seen as linked to Rwanda, say they need protection against former Hutu militias, some of which which were involved in the 1994 genocide and remain in the region. The reemergence of M23 is framed by its supporters as a defense of Tutsi interests and response to perceived marginalization and refugee militia dynamics after the 1994 genocide displaced populations, both civilians and armed militias settled in eastern DRC. Over decades, militias remain rearmed, merged, split, and sometimes aligned with external states. This legacy continues to fuel violence, control over mineral wealth and natural resources. And in eastern DRC is rich strategic minerals, gold, coltan, other rare earths, and minerals used in electronics. Control over land, mines, mineral trade routes, especially around border zones, remains a major economic incentive for both rebel groups and external actors. Weak state institutions, impunity, and corruption. The DRC government often lacks effective control over remote eastern provinces. Weak governance, lack of security infrastructure, and widespread corruption have allowed armed groups to thrive. Regional tensions and cross-border dynamics. The conflict is not purely internal to DRC. Regional dynamics, especially involving Rwanda, play a big role. Allegations of cross-border support, historic grievances, ethnic ties across borders, and regional security concerns continue to drive tensions. Thus, the current conflict, even if nominally about rebel insurrection, is deeply rooted in complex historical, ethnic, security, and economic causes. And we want to see who is affected, and humanitarian toll displacement, human rights abuses, and human rights casualties and displacement. According to some sources, roughly 6 million people have died since 1996 as a result of war, violence, disease, and anger, making this conflict among the deadliest since World War II. The Eastern DRC remains one of the worst affected regions, and as of early 2025, renewed fighting by M23 triggered massive displacement. More than 7 million people are internally displaced in Kivu provinces, that is North and South Kivu alone. About 3.8 million people between November 2024 and early 2025. Nearly 780,000 people reportedly fled their homes due to armed clashes and insecurity. In the recent surge 2025, about 7,000 people have reportedly been killed since January, and according to DRC official statements. And we're still moving into the specific atrocities and mass killings, and one prominent atrocity, the Kishishe massacre. This is November 21st, 30th, 2022, in North Kivu's Rushuru territory, carried out by M23 forces. The UN preliminary report documented at least 171 civilians executed, with Congolese government sources initially estimated around 300 deaths. Other massive mass violence events include the Kipupu massacre. This is July 16, 2020, in South Kivu, where militias, not always M23, attacked villages, reportedly killing dozens to hundreds. Some estimates say as many as 220, though independent analysts suggest lower, and committing ethnic violence against Bembe, Vuliru, and Nyendu communities. The conflict has been characterized by widespread human rights abuses, including summary executions, killings of civilians, sexual violence, especially targeting women, looting, destruction of property, and forced displacement. Wide humanitarian impact. The protracted violence destroyed communities, disrupted livelihoods, and triggered massive displacement. This is both internal and cross-border. Many civilians suffer from lack of access to basic services, healthcare, clean water, and education. Conflict zones often restrict aid access, further exacerbated by outbreaks of diseases, and that include malaria, measles, and other infections among displaced populations. The conflict has deepened social fractures between ethnic groups, between communities aligned with different militias and cultivated long-term insecurity, trauma, distrust, and instability. And a question we need to ask ourselves: has the conflict been solved? 2025 peace deal, new hope, but also new risk. As you mentioned in your prompt, and this is yes, as of December 4th, 2025, Donald Trump, U.S. President, is set to host the leaders of the DRC and Rwanda, Felix Tshisekedi. This is from DRC President, and Paul Kagame from Rwanda in Washington to sign a peace and an economic agreement, the so-called Washington Accords for Peace and Prosperity. And we have to note some of the key points of the deal. The accord aims to end the long-standing conflict in Eastern Congo, especially the violence linked to the rebel M23 and other armed groups. It includes security and political commitments, notably Rwanda's withdrawal of support from for M23, all allied militias, and DRC's pledges to dismantle rebel groups and secure territory. The agreement also includes an economic dimension, opening up DRC mineral-rich eastern region to foreign, especially U.S. investment, minerals, energy, and infrastructure, aiming for long-term economic integration and development. However, as of now, the conflict is not yet fully resolved. Several caveats remain. Fighting between M23 and allied militias and DRC forces continues in some areas. The deal does not and yet guarantee the dismantling of disarmament of all armed groups in eastern DRC. Over 100 armed groups remain active, not just M23. Many affected civilians remain displaced, traumatized, or living in unstable conditions. The humanitarian crisis is ongoing. There is skepticism and concern both inside DRC and internationally about whether the agreement can be fully enforced. Some analysts warn that without neutral peacekeeping forces, robust local governance and reforms, and structural reconciliation, the conflict could reignite. Hence, the peace deal is a significant diplomatic milestone and provides hope, but it is not a guarantee of lasting peace by itself. Implementation, monitoring, and genuine reconciliation remain still critical. And a question we also still want to ask ourselves: why is the conflict so complicated? Multiple causes and actors. One reason this conflict has dragged on for decades is the complex interplay of many overlapping factors, ethnic tensions, and this is Tutsi versus Hutu, and local Congolese groups, a refugee crisis, and cross-border militia dynamics post-1994. This is Rwanda influx of Hutu militias into eastern DRC. Weak governance and state control in eastern DRC, inability to secure remote regions, and we are still looking at the competition for mineral resources and economic exploitations of eastern DRC's wealth by armed groups, local elites, and foreign actors. We also have regional geopolitics, where Rwanda's security concerns, ethnic allegiances across borders, and interventions by external powers. Large number of armed groups, not only M23, fragmentation and shifting alliances make unified peace difficult. Because of this overlapping layers, there's no single cause and no easy solution. And the question again: who has been most affected and what are the long-term consequences? Civilians in eastern DRC, particularly in North and South Kivu, including displaced persons, victims of sexual massacres, sexual violence survivors, people whose homes and livelihoods have been destroyed, refugees and displaced populations, millions displaced internally, many living in camps or informal settlements, disrupted access to education, health, security, livelihoods, women and children. Often disproportionately impacted sexual violence, loss of caregivers, disruption of schooling, trauma, anger, and disease. And we're also looking at the humanitarian crisis and public health collapse, where conflict zones see destruction of infrastructure, hospitals, schools, outbreaks of disease, lack of access to clean water, food insecurity, regional instability. The conflict has destabilized not just Eastern DRC, but neighboring countries contributed to refugee flows across borders and pose a broader security threat in the Great Lakes region. Economic exploitation and corruption, illegal mineral trade, smuggling, illicit taxation by militias, profit fueling continued conflict instead of development. And in short, the conflict has devastated entire communities, undermined stability for a generation, and turned Eastern DRC into one of the worst humanitarian crises globally. And we're looking at the recent 2025 developments and peace deal context. The recent resurgence of conflict, particularly by M23, has been among the worst escalations in decades. In early 2025, M23 captured key eastern cities, including Goma and Bukavu, and expanded territorial control. The capture triggered mass displacement, hundreds of thousands, mass casualties, and renewed humanitarian emergency and response. Democratic efforts led by the United States and mediation in Libya, Qatar, and other actors culminated in the 2025 peace agreement to be signed in Washington between heads of state and with U.S. involvement. Their called goals and support for rebel groups, especially M23, commit to troop withdrawals or disarmament, and open the way for economic coordination and investment in DRC resource sectors, hoping to replace conflict with development. Yet, many remain skeptical. Ongoing violence, presence of many armed groups, lack full disarmament, weak governance, and distrust between communities make a durable peace uncertain. Why is it so hard to guarantee peace? Another question. Even with a peace deal, several obstacles remain. Multiplicity of armed groups. M23 is only one group. There are dozens, 100 plus, with different allegiances, grievances, and goals. Disarming all is difficult. Distrust and ethnic division is another reason. Deep mistrust between communities, Tutsi, Hutu, other Congolese ethnic groups, historical grievances and cycles, revenge make reconciliation hard. And reason 3, resource-driven incentives. Control of mines and minerals remains extremely lucrative. Groups may resist giving up power over territories with economic value. And the 4th reason, weak institutions and governance capacity in Eastern DRC, even with agreement, implementing rule of law, ensuring justice for atrocities, and rebuilding trust will take years. And the 5th reason, external actors and interference, regional geopolitics, foreign economics, interest, and cross-border dynamics. This is refugees, militias continue to influence events. And because of that, many analysts view this deal as a first step, a diplomatic opening rather than a final solution. And another question, what should you know about DRC, Rwanda, and broader Eastern Congo conflicts? Is not a new problem. It has been historical roots, ethnic security, refugee militia legacy, and resource competition. Over decades, it has involved multiple wars, First and Second Congo Wars, many armed groups, and cycles of violence with hundreds of thousands, if not millions dead and millions displaced. The most recent phase, this is 2022 to 2025, saw the resurgence of the rebel group M23, massive territorial gains, capture of major cities, and renewed humanitarian catastrophe. Civilians, especially in Eastern DRC, have borne the brunt. Mass killings, e.g. Kishishe, Kipupu, displacement, human rights abuses, and loss of livelihoods. The 2025 peace agreement to be signed in Washington is a major diplomatic attempt to end the conflict with commitments for troop withdrawal, and to rebel support and economic cooperation. But peace remains fragile. Structural problems, multiple armed actors, economic interest, ethnic divisions, institutional weaknesses, and lasting stability uncertain. And we are moving on to the issue of the signing of the peace deal in Washington. And this is what we expect to be done, or even this is what we expect to be the content of the agreement. The agreement requires that Rwandan troops withdraw from eastern DRC, that both countries commit to respect each other's territorial integrity and hostilities, and disarm all non-state armed groups. It further calls for a joint security coordination mechanism to be established within 30 days to monitor security and troop withdrawals, and envisages a regional economic integration framework to be launched within 90 days, aimed at boosting cooperation, reopening trade corridors, and promoting investment in mineral-rich regions. And the signing, Trump described the deal as a turning point. Today, the violence and destructions come to an end, and the entire region begins a new chapter of hope and opportunity, harmony and prosperity and peace. And that is what Trump has quoted. He also said the United States would gain a lot of mineral rights from the Congo, suggesting that access to critical minerals like cobalt, copper, lithium, and gold, essential for technology and defense, is a central component of accord. Trump warned of very, and this is quoted, very severe penalties, financial and otherwise, if the agreement is violated, signaling U.S. intent to hold the parties accountable. Yet, despite the high-profile ceremony and the pledges, serious doubts remain. Observers, including U.S. media, note that fighting continues. One report quotes local residents as saying, "We are still at war," underscoring that rebel activity persists in the ground even after signing. Moreover, critics argue the agreement lacks concrete guarantees for justice, reparations, and long-term protection for civilians. The economic component, especially the opening of mineral exploitation to foreign, and this is U.S. companies, has raised concerns that it may benefit external interest more than local communities and victims of conflict. Now, from a region once defined by the aura of genocide and decades of proxy conflict, today's peace deal between DRC and Rwanda represents a pivotal moment, not only for the two nations, but for the entire Great Lakes region. Whether this agreement becomes a genuine pathway to stability or just another diplomatic headline will depend on the political will to honor its commitments, the sincerity of regional cooperation, and the ability of outside powers to support peace without exploiting the scars of the past. As history watches, the question remains: can a region long haunted by trauma finally turn its struggles into future shaped not by conflict but by shared prosperity and geopolitical renewal? This is a special feature on Genocide to Geopolitics. My name is Kimaiyu Somba. Coming up next, the bulletin. Welcome. Interpretation is Laura Omondi. Maktar Diop in Washington, D.C. as Kenya intensifies efforts to secure innovative non-debt development financing. The president says Kenya's proposed infrastructure fund is already attracting a strong global interest, with the IFC expressing confidence and signaling its readiness to invest. An IFC delegation led by Vice President Mohamed Goled President is expected to visit Kenya early next year to advance discussions on key energy and infrastructure projects, including the modernization of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and a public-private partnership model. On Tuesday, U.S. President Donald Trump invited President Ruto to a high-profile meeting in Washington, D.C., where he will join President Paul Kagame and President Felix Tshisekedi for the official signing of the DRC-Rwanda Peace Agreement, a landmark step toward resolving decades of conflict in eastern DRC.
How are you? Very well. You're well? Now we are in Washington. In your country. So, thank you. I'm good, my friend. I'm good. I'm good. Hello. How are you? Very good. Hello. How are you? Excellent. Good to see you again. I'm here. Salama kabisa bwana. Niko hapa bwana. Asante. Yes. Yes. We hope that we will. Okay. To be telling me, Mokhtar, tell me. I am always concerned. So it means that tomorrow, and hopefully we sign off tomorrow on pass out positive. Okay.
And moving on, health services in Bondo have been disrupted after healthcare workers went on strike to protest the alleged assault and intimidation of their colleagues. And according to the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union KMPDU, Nyanza branch, a clinical officer and several nurses were attacked on the night of November 30th by individuals alleged to have political influence. KMPDU Nyanza chairperson Dr. Onyango Donga said the attackers reportedly forced medical staff to violate established emergency procedures and compelled doctors to attend to their patient against protocol. He described the incident as a serious breach of professional ethics and a threat to the safety of health workers. Leaders of nurses and clinical officers unions led by Kennedy Amisi and Gilbert Omonti condemned what they termed the silence of the Siaya County government following the incident. The union leaders are now demanding immediate measures to enhance security in health facilities across the county.
Consider bringing into book the perpetrators of this heinous act. We are also perturbed by a letter that was unleashed by the county government of Siaya, purporting that no health worker was attacked. It is we who are on the ground, and we are very much aware of whatever incident that took place.
Today, there will be no healthcare worker in all our hospitals for any matter of services until our issues of security in our workplace is handled decisively. Yes. Secondly, we want the perpetrators of such vile acts of cowardice to be taken action against. We request the police, we know you know your work. Please, by today evening, we want the perpetrators to face justice.
Mimi nilikuja hapa hospitali kwa matibabu, lakini nimepata kama mgomo yuko hapa. Sasa ninarudi nyumbani bila kutibiwa. Kwa hivyo naomba serikali aone vile wanaweza fanyia wale wanagoma.
Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga has warned of a looming crisis in county-run hospitals, which face shortages of essential medicines if the Social Health Authority SHA scheme fails to clear outstanding debts. Speaking during the launch of health improvement projects in Mathira, Othaya and Nyeri town constituencies, Governor Kahiga revealed that SHA currently owes the county's hospitals approximately 500,000 Kenyan shillings. He noted that this amount forms part of the accumulated debts owed by the scheme, which previously operated as the National Insurance Fund, NHIF. Governor Kahiga expressed concern that delayed payments are already beginning to affect service delivery, threatening patients' access to vital medications and medical care.
SHA ni mpango mzuri, lakini kuna upungufu wa fedha, ndipo tunapata kwamba kaunti zinashindwa kutekeleza wajibu wao kwa kununua madawa na vifaa vingine, kwa sababu kwa mfano niseme tu kaunti kama ya Nyeri tayari tunadai SHA zaidi ya milioni 280. Ukiangalia bado kuna pesa ambazo zilikuwa za NHIF milioni 242. Hizo fedha zote ambazo tumezitaja kama zingekuwa zimelipwa, basi tungekuwa tayari tumeshanunua madawa, tushafanya mambo mengi, lakini kwa sasa kuna shida. Wagonjwa wanafika katika hospitali, wengine wanapata kwamba faida wanaoipata kwa SHA imepungua kidogo kuliko ile ambao walikuwa wanapata katika NHIF. Hasa wagonjwa wa saratani inawaumiza sana, kwa sababu inabidi warejelee mifuko yao kutafuta pesa zaidi ndipo waweze kukamilisha matibabu.
Eric Wekesa has officially been sworn in as the MCA for Chwele Kabuchai Ward in the Bungoma County Assembly following days of tension amid claims of a plot to delay the process. Wekesa, who ran as an independent candidate, won the by-election with 6,162 votes, defeating his closest rival from Ford Kenya, who garnered 2,765 votes. The newly sworn-in MCA is now expected to begin executing his mandate and fulfilling his promises to the residents of Chwele Kabuchai after completing all legal requirements.
Unajua hii maneno si kujua tutafika hapa, but leo ni mwanzo wa kazi. Kitu ya maana, ila ahadi ambayo tumeweka wakati wa campaign tutafuata moja kwa moja ili watu wetu wapate ile matumaini ambayo walikuwa nayo ikakuwa practical kwa maisha yao.
Tunakukaribisha na tutakuelekeza, na hii miaka imebaki mwaka moja karibu na nusu. Tukirudi kwa kura utakuwa umeiva sasa, utakuwa umejua njia zote, na ukurudi huko utafanya mambo.
U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Susan Barnes, says President William Ruto's visit to the United States is aimed at empowering young people and attracting investors to Kenya. She also announced that the Kenya and U.S. governments will endorse several agreements, including a 5-year health sector partnership to tackle HIV, malaria, and other long-standing diseases. Ambassador Barnes made these remarks during a visit to Mombasa, where she toured the busy port of Mombasa and interacted with young people and the Swahili Port Center with focus on youth empowerment and investment opportunities.
Working with young people is important because young people are actually at the center of everything that happens in the country. Earlier we were discussing about the median age of Kenya, which is 19 years. So whenever we work with the Gen Z, actually that is working with Kenya. But specifically today we wanted to touch on Scale Up project, which was supported by the US Embassy to build the business ecosystem within the coast, but also support some of the entrepreneurs.
Tomorrow evening there'll be a signing of a 5-year health agreement between Kenya and the U.S. and I'll save the details for after the agreement is signed, but we've been negotiating really to work as a partnership on the work that we've already done in Kenya for the past 25 plus years in HIV and malaria and tuberculosis, and this is kind of take it to the next level. But it really is a historic new framework. We're very, very excited about it. The Ministry of Health and teams in Kenya work very closely with our embassy.
As you can see right now on your screens is that U.S. President Donald Trump is already in the United States Institute of Peace to make sure that he signs the peace deal between Rwanda and Congo. This is DRC, and Rwanda. And moving on, Machakos County Governor Wavinya Ndeti is now calling on young people to stop allowing politicians to use them as instruments of chaos during demonstrations and instead channel their energy toward issues that directly impact their lives. Wavinya is also urging the youth to turn out in large numbers and register as voters in the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. competition, an exercise that has so far recorded a significantly low turnout. Speaking during the Wavinya Camp tournament, which brought together young people from across the county, the governor noted that the competition has played a major role in nurturing young talent and improving the livelihoods of many young participants.
Tena kingine nataka kuambia, wakati wa siasa kuna watu wamejifunza vibaya kutumia vijana kupigana. Kutumia nini? Gunzi. Vijana wa Machakos, msikubali kutumiwa na mtu. Mimi kama mama yenu nilishawaambia mwenda mpigane mahali? Hapana. Have I ever told you to organize yourself, you become goons? Hao wanakuja ni kina nani wanawaambia ati nini? Mushikane mwanze kwenda kupigana. Na sisi tusikubali watu kutoka nje. Tusikubali kasumba ya watu kutoka wapi? Nje. Wakuje kutuletea shida. Yule anatuletea shida.
Embu County has been ranked 32nd nationally in HIV prevalence, with county officials saying the position reflects steady progress in key areas of HIV prevention, testing and treatment. Presenting the latest data, Embu County Chief of Staff Amy Ruria acknowledged the county's mid-tier ranking, but noted that significant improvements have been recorded through coordinated efforts involving national government agencies, global health partners and community stakeholders. Ruria highlighted major gains in the prevention of mother-to-child transmission of HIV, reporting a sharp decline from 11.4% in 2019 to 6.6% this year. She attributed the improvement to increased investment in antenatal care, expanded HIV testing and targeted interventions aimed at reducing barriers for treatment for expectant mothers. And according to the county, an estimated 9,792 people are currently living with HIV in Embu. Of this, 98.1% are aware of the status, a milestone officials credit to sustained awareness and testing campaigns across the county.
Embu kama Embu County tumeelezwa kwamba tumerankiwa 32nd nationally on HIV, lakini ambalo ni la muhimu na la kufurahisha ni kwamba katika ile there is something called 95-95-95 ratio. Katika Embu mambo ya wale watu ambao wanaishi na HIV ni 9,782, ambapo kati ya hao 9,000 98.1% wanajua status yao. Alafu kati ya hao pia 92.5% wanameza madawa zile tembe za ARV. Alafu pia tumeelezwa kwamba kati ya hao pia 94.8% are virally suppressed, kumaanisha hawawezi kuambukiza. Na hilo ni jambo la kufurahisha kwamba tunafanya maendeleo, tunaendelea katika mambo na kupunguza uenezaji wa HIV new infections and pia transmission, mother to child transmission. Pia tumeambiwa kwamba 2019 tulikuwa at 11.4%, lakini saizi Embu County tuko at 6.60%. Kwa hivyo tunafuraha sana, tunaendelea vizuri kama Embu County.
The Council of Legal Education CLE has officially launched its inaugural two-day conference at Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi, aimed at strengthening the capacity of law faculties and training institutions to deliver integrity-focused legal education. The conference, themed Legal Education and Training for a Globally Competitive Lawyer, has brought together legal practitioners, academics, law enforcement representatives, and regional stakeholders to discuss modernizing legal education and training frameworks across East Africa. During the opening remarks, CLE chairperson Professor Collins Odote emphasized the council's mandate to produce lawyers recognized both in Kenya and globally. He noted that Kenya's educational landscape has evolved significantly, making it necessary to adapt legal training to meet modern demands, highlighting the importance of regulation in legal education. Panelist Professor Pielo Lumumba stressed that progress is limited if law is taught without proper oversight and regulation in Kenyan institutions. This sentiment was echoed by David Tong, Director of Legal Services at the Anti-Corruption Commission, who called for structured regulation to ensure the integrity and quality of legal training.
I'm the chair of the Council of Legal Education. As you see, this conference is titled The Future of Legal Education, because we are at a reflection point, an opportunity for us to ask ourselves, where does legal education go into the country in terms of the changing landscape, a changing landscape globally, where there is increased internationalization, not just of the economy, but also of governance. So we need to ensure that we are producing lawyers, not just for the Kenyan market, as one of the guests said, but lawyers for the globe, lawyers who understand international relations, lawyers who understand regional integration, but lawyers who also understand the opportunities and challenges that those two things provide. So that's why we are, and also we are having a future of legal education, because you know the education system currently is undergoing transformation. We adopted a competency-based education a few years ago. Those students or those learners are about to reach the university in 2029. We need to be prepared as a profession to ask ourselves, what does it mean for how we teach? What does it mean for what we teach, and what does it mean for how we mentor and prepare them for the job market?
All right, there's something about integrity that we really talked about in your speech, and the importance of infusing integrity courses in terms of our curriculum. Do you still hold on?
I think extremely critical. A lot of times, lawyers, people sometimes misunderstand lawyers. They say lawyers represent criminals. But you know, everybody must have their day in court. But as we represent different shades of society, we must do so with the highest levels of integrity.
What must be understood is that the legal system must always grow. Many years ago, when I was a law student, there was only one law school in Kenya. Today, there are over 20 law schools in Kenya. The world has changed. Some will tell you we are on the cusp of the 4th and 5th industrial revolution. We are talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking about integration of the East African region. We are talking about Africa Agenda 2063 and Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We are talking about climate change. These things must be accommodated in the training of lawyers. And this conference is designed to anticipate those changes so that the law graduate who is produced in any of our law schools can carry his or her own weight, not only within Kenya, but within East Africa, within the African continent, and indeed the world. Many times in this country, people think that appearing in court is what constitutes legal practice. Perhaps that is only 5%. Legal practice is in every area, is in aviation, is in international relations, and those are the things that must be given their pride of place as we get into the 3rd decade of the 21st century.
Institutions of higher learning have been urged to invest more in modern training equipment and place greater emphasis on hands-on learning to better prepare students for the job market and enhance professionalism across various fields. The call was made by Sophia Dida, a dental laboratory technician at Mount Kenya University, who noted that many universities place excessive focus on theoretical instruction at the expense of practical training. She warned that the imbalance leaves graduates underprepared for real workplace demands. Dida emphasized that practical exposure is essential in development competent professionals, particularly in technical and health-related disciplines where skills and experience are critical to quality service delivery. She said equipping training institutions with modern tools would help bridge the gap between classroom learning and industry expectations.
The institution of higher learning usually invest in equipment for practical purpose, because most of the courses is based on the work of the hand. There is a cases where some interns or even some new employees do some grievous mistake, and these are human beings we are dealing with. So what is needed, what a patient needs, is your service of your hand. If you cannot manipulate using your own hands, but you have it up in your mind, it doesn't help. So practicals is necessary for you to do and go and fit, and also to give a safe environment for the patient, and also to do something realistic. You may become perfectly knowing everything theoretically, but when it comes to work of your hand, you will not be able to produce even a single crown or anything related to work of your hand. So this leads to confusion, or even someone can lose job, even someone can even exit job by himself because he or she sees that they cannot fit in this field. I encourage each and every student to focus on practicals as well as they focus on the theories as well, and also they do the more practice so that they become skillful. And also to the supervisors and the lecturers, for the individual skills, they demonstrate the practicals clearly to the student so that they will understand. And also, as a lecturers and the supervisors, we're supposed to give room for each and every student to do as, if they want to repeat the practicals, they repeat as much as they can until they feel like they are competent enough to go out and give the service which is required. The equipment that we received is a phantom head, and its importance is it helps the student to do the practicals on before they come to the real patient. They provide with the anatomies and of the oral structures where the student is able to do every kind of procedures.
Being a student taking a course that is in the medical field, I've come to realize that it's very important for schools that are offering any course to invest very much in equipment, because it's not just enough to do theory. I've realized that with just theory and just practical, without now being introduced to the very critical equipment, it's not that helping, because you will find that yes, you will understand the theory, but you have not been exposed to the equipment. So it's good that all institutions invest so much in the equipment that are necessary, especially in the medical field, because you will realize that when you go out there, you're going to deal with human beings. You're going to be taking care of lives. So being introduced to the very critical equipment is important.
Yes, we speak right now. DRC's President Felix Tshisekedi is speaking, and Paul Kagame has already spoken ahead of the peace signing agreement in the Peace Institute in Washington. And moving on, Kenya's fight against HIV is under renewed pressure, with new data showing a worrying surge in infections. Young people aged 11 to 20 lead in HIV infection rates in Kiambu County, a trend experts attribute to local and drug abuse. Kikuyu Deputy County Commissioner Charles Laboso has called for collaborative efforts to tackle this issue, urging increased awareness in schools to protect the most vulnerable. Residents are also being encouraged to go for testing and learn safe practice to help curb the spread of the virus.
The age we are actually worried about is the young people, and that is why, because they are the ones who are having a very high infection rate, because unajua watu wa young, they go doing some things, they are not worried of what HIV is, but HIV is still there, and that's why we want to create awareness.
Many of our school-going children are home now, and it's a responsibility of our parents to make sure that they know what they are doing when they are on holiday, that they are always within their purview. They should always be, parents should always know what their kids are doing, where they are.
Now to other stories, border raiders in Garissa County have been urged to stay vigilant as the political season heats up ahead of the 2027 general elections. Ajir Dahir, chairperson of the Accounts Committee in the Garissa County Assembly, called on raiders to avoid involvement in criminal activities and to maintain discipline in their work. He further emphasized that any participation in political activities should remain peaceful and must not be used as a recipe to incite violence or violate the law.
Na watu wa bodaboda ni waaminifu. Wangekuwa wakola, hawangeweza kubeba mtu saa 7 ya usiku na wamfikishe kwa nyumba na wahakikisha ameingia kwa geti ndani. Hao vijana kwa sababu ya hiyo waaminifu wamefanya kazi nzuri. Lakini kuna wale wachache ambaye hawataki kufanya kazi. Wamefanya kazi ya bodaboda iwe kuonekana picha mbaya kwa sababu wanaumiza vijana wetu, wanawadunga visu.
Vile nitakuwa na well trained officers ambao watakuwa wanachunga traffic, ambao watakuwa kwa ground every now and then, watakuwa wanasaidiana na bodaboda ili waendeshe magari zao vizuri.
Now to Kilifi County, where concerns are rising over the skyrocketing cases of gender-based violence, with the national government now being urged to strengthen security and court structures to ensure effective response to these cases. During an event at Mutop Police Station to hand over equipment for the Victim Support Unit, Human Rights Officer Charles Kimaiyu from the United Nations highlighted the need for safe spaces for victims and better transport for police officers to prevent conflicts from escalating. This comes at a time when experts sounded an alarm that Kenya is risks following the footsteps of countries with poor records on gender-based violence, and thus the troubling trend must be revised.
We went to look at the gender desk and the space that is there. Clearly, it is not the best for dealing with these issues because it's too small. And it's not possible for anybody to report cases where they feel or they fear that the information that they are providing will be leaked or where there are other people present. So clearly it is important to address that issue.
Masikio ya serikali ni nini? Mtoa habari kwetu na hatua itachukuliwa haraka iwezekanavyo, na sisi tuko hapa kudumisha amani na hatutakubali mwananchi yote ama mtoto yote wa hii nchi adhulumiwe na wakora.
Gatuzi letu tumeweza kuanza kuona visa ambazo vinaongezeka vya kulawiti watoto na pia visa vya kudhulumiwa kutumia njia ya mtandao ambazo zimeweza kuanza kuongezeka, na pia tungeweza kushukuru jamii kuwa wameanza sasa kupiga ripoti kuhusu visa za wale ambao wako na shida ya kiakili ambao wamekuwa wakidhulumiwa.
Wazazi tafadhalini, hii yote ni kwa sababu yenu. Shida ya watoto wetu ni nyinyi mnasababisha. Defilement cases, mzazi anaficha hata kuja kuripoti hiyo cases. Ni mtoto wako anaumia. Remember hiyo kitu bali itaishi kwa kichwa ya mtoto wako. Hata ukimzuia asikuje kuripoti, itamuaffect in future kwa akili yake.
The Tanzanian police have issued a stern warning against demonstrations planned for the 9th of this month, saying that organizers will face legal action. Government spokesman Gaston Msigwa has accused those behind the protest of attempting to drag the country into unrest. This comes as Tanzania reels from days of deadly clashes following disputed elections, with the opposition claiming at least 700 people have died nationwide. With fear rising and freedoms shrinking, the country now faces one of its most perilous moments in years, a test not just of power, but of democracy itself.
Jeshi la polisi kwa kushirikiana na vyombo vingine vya ulinzi na usalama vimekuwa vikifuatilia kwa karibu sana yanayoendelea katika mitandao ya kijamii na kwenye makundi sogozi, wakihamasisha wanayoyaita maandamano ya amani yasiyo na kikomo ya tarehe 9 Disemba 2025. Ni uhalifu mkubwa unaoendelea kuhamasishwa. Hali kama hii kwa nchi yoyote ile duniani ni tishio kubwa la maisha ya watu, uchumi wa nchi na masuala yote ya kijamii.
And you like sports? Here we go. Campbell FC secured a 1-0 victory over Webuye Sportive in a tightly contested Division 1 Zone D match at the Webuye Stadium. The only goal of the game in the 70th minute when striker Shadrack Kimaiyu found the back of the net, marking his 4th goal of the league season. Both teams fought hard to assert dominance in the city derby, but Campbell FC's decisive strike provoked enough to claim all 3 points. Coaches from both sides thanked fans for maintaining decorum throughout the match, ensuring a smooth and competitive atmosphere. Attention now turns to the upcoming fixtures in the Division 1 Zone D League.
Thank the boys for the fighting spirit, for the teamwork, team spirit. Wamekuwa na collective responsibility. Tumesukuma, but ni hard luck. We had everything, all the chances. So si game ya kublame mtu. They had theirs, waka-utilize. I may say, we have still a room to improve. League bado changa. We are only game 6. Na hatuna pressure. Tuna pressure ukiangalia tumelose, but ukiangalia psyche ya vijana vile bado iko. Bado tunaendelea kuprepare. Next game we hope and we pray things will be better.
Nataka kushukuru Mungu kwa ushindi wa leo. Being that imekuwa ni Webuye derby, bragging rights zinakuja kwetu. Kila mtu akwa at liberty kushabikia timu yote yenye anataka. Na football hukuwa hivyo. Mimi nataka tu kushukuru Mungu kwa kutuondolea aibu. Kwa sababu aim ya sportive ilikuwa ni kutufunga sisi. Tulikuwa tumeprepare na niliwaambia mapema, ukiangalia kwa interview yangu niliwaambia hii derby nitaikula. Na once nimeikula, mimi nashukuru Mungu. Siwezi kujipiga kifua ati mimi ni mdeadly. Hapana, na focus kwa game next.
We thank you so much. To this moment, we've been from 8:30 to this time. We want to thank our audience for watching us through that period. And that is our 360-degree coverage of all that we had prepared for you, from Genocide to Geopolitics to the news bulletins that we've just brought in for you. Thank you for watching. May God bless you. And as you always say, thank you for trusting us all through. And we're here together to grow and to grow to bigger places and to more places, to more adventures and to more advancement in future. It's been great watching. It's been great following us all through. My name is Kimaiyu Somba, or JKS, and my sign language interpreter has been Laura Omondi. This is how we exit from EBN Thursday edition, the JKS Thursdays. Thank you for watching. May God bless you. Have yourselves a good night.